This is Ashley Hodge with the Sikkim 365 podcast. I'm coming to you after Baylor's 75-63 win over Arizona State. Another tough loss for a former Duke point guard, one of many, many that are going to happen this year and have happened in years past. I'm joined by Brian Gerard, and he's Rifle Bear on the board. He joined me in Indianapolis, so this is good luck to have him on the podcast because we know what happened in Indianapolis last year. But actually in 2021, we're still in the same calendar year. Brian, good to have you on the podcast. First of all, what are your observations after this game tonight?
Yeah, thanks for having me again, Ashley. It's been a while since the national championship, but hey, I wanted to start out real quick. I know you've kind of exposed Coach K's coaching tree on the board. It's kind of been a fun running joke. So I just looked up because I know Hurley wasn't a former assistant. I think he started with his brother out in coaching, but we can still rag on him a little bit. But I just wanted to let everyone know that it looks like of the 12 Duke assistants, they only have a 53% winning percentage over around 4,000 games. And if I think you take Mike Bray out and Amaker from the Stanford years, and Bray's still at Notre Dame, but their winning percentage is under 500 or 50%.
That's pretty pitiful.
And then they said that they had their average in the NCAA tournament's less than a first round win. I think it was like 0.88. So I think you've been spot on the Coach K coaching tree. So anyway,
it sounds like Shaka Smart, but
exactly.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. Thanks for doing the research. It definitely verifies what the eyes are telling me. And I know. Bobby was whining early in this game, and I tell you what, he got a great performance from one of his guards, DJ Horn. Shot the lights out, 6 for 9 from three. A lot of those were pretty tough shots he made, but it didn't end up mattering too much. I mean, he was the only, real consistent threat from three. They had a couple guys off the bench, Heath and Neal, that also, 2 for 3 for Heath and 2 for 4 for Neal. But other than that, and the free throw defense was terrible for Baylor again tonight. It started off strong. I remember, I think it was Kamari Lawrence went to the line and put up 2 colossal bricks early in the game, but then after that, they made 13 of 14 free throws. So a little disappointed in Baylor's free throw defense once again. Not a strong point of this team, but hopefully as the season goes on, it will get better.
Yeah, definitely. And it seems like each year, one of these early games, someone goes off on us pretty good, but I think he was the only guy in double figures of around 20. And we had 5 guys in double figures.
Yeah.
And that didn't even include Akinjo. So we spread it around well, and obviously midway through the game we looked really, really strong again. Didn't finish how we wanted, but as we talked earlier, that's probably a good thing for the coaches to coach them up.
Right. Yeah, it was good to see Flagler make some shots. He was only 1 for 6 from three, but he did a pretty good job driving in the paint. Made some shots at the rim. Made a couple mid-range shots. He ended up 5 for 13. Akinjo, he was off a little bit today. 1 for 4 from three. Like you said, only 9 points, but he had 7 assists, only 2 turnovers. I thought he was pretty efficient overall. LJ Cryer continues to shoot well. Matthew Meyer had a pretty good shooting day, 6 for 14, 2 for 4 from three, 14 points for him. Thamba, Brown, both 4 for 5 from the field, both in double figures. So just what you expect from Baylor. I mean, they share the ball, they get a lot of people involved, and typically it's like pick your poison on the defensive end. And, they did what they needed to do. They got separation in the first half and built a big lead and got a little sloppy at the end. I'm sure, like we talked about before we started rolling the podcast, there's going to be some good coaching points to, bring out, hey, we got to finish games better against better competition. This kind of sloppiness is going to bite us in the butt. So, I do think, from that standpoint, they'll really, be able to focus on some film as they prepare for VCU. A very tough, gritty team, offensively challenged for sure, but it's going to be kind of like playing Houston. They're not as good as Houston, but they can present some challenges just because of their effort.
Yeah, and I think they mentioned their starting point guards out, so I think we'll have a big advantage with how deep we are.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I think the announcers talked about it in previous games. We talked about how well we share the ball, but I think just looking at the stats, we only had one other player outside. If you take out Akinjo, we only had 1 assist from our starters, the other 4 starters. So that could certainly improve. But 3-point shooting was decent. I think Akinjo, he started out over dribbling, but then once he makes his move, and if he doesn't over dribble, he's such an elite passer. He dribbles so low to the ground that his little bounce passes or little shovel passes down is just so hard to stop. And it also seemed like I probably over analyze Meyer on the board sometimes. I just love watching him play and what he does in the games. But you could tell, I think the coaches want to get him involved early.
Right.
And I probably told him to attack until even though his first three went down. I think that was probably on the scouting report, but he did such a good job attacking the rim and making some extra passes and very active on defense. I do think he's going to get exposed in scouting reports guarding out on the perimeter.
He gambles. He still gambles too much. Yeah.
He does. Yeah. But if we keep switching out on those guards, I think it'll be interesting to see if Sochan and Brown do. They're obviously quicker than him, but I think that's going to be an area to watch. But I think he did a great job, tonight at 20 minutes, 14 points. That's pretty solid. And I doubt he's too upset with that, not getting the playing time.
Right. Yeah. So Sochan had kind of a weird game because, he couldn't get anything to fall from a shot perspective. He was 0 for 7, but he had 9 rebounds. He hit the glass really hard, 3 assists, no turnovers. I think he might have had a couple steals too. I don't have the complete box score in front of me right now, but he was he had one steal tonight. He's a guy that has really impressed me with his defense. Typically you don't see defense as solid as our freshmen are providing. I mean, Kendall Brown is a really good defender and just a really efficient player overall. I mean, he just makes really good decisions on the court. And Sochan's kind of the same. I mean, Sochan is a little bit more raw, I would say, and his shot is can look, it's almost like Lace Dunn early in his career. It's either an air ball or a swish, it seems like, sometimes, but I think that he his ability to really get after people defensively and even get some steals and distribute and rebound is going to really help this team.
Yeah, I think it was in the second half, and I'm probably some of the first half when you saw Sochan and Brown and JT John out guarding on the perimeter.
Right.
That's got to be scary as a guard to see that length and how quick all three of them are. And it seems like Drew played that lineup quite a bit tonight, so it'll be interesting to see because what they do with the lineups going forward, because he's got so many options going small and big. But it seems like, especially Drew, having them out on the floor. Granted, we were still up 10, but he still had those. I think 2 of the 3. He might have had all 3 at the end of the game, and not Meyer. So I think he's starting to see that that's his best defensive lineup to finish a game. But yeah, you're right. Those 2 are grown men, and they're so big and strong. It's not like the old days when we brought in pretty skinny guys that needed to bulk up at least a year or 2. And these guys, it's crazy how athletic and elite are. But yeah, Sochan, his rebounding is pretty incredible. Where he seems to always be on the floor, and most of his rebounds are above the rim, and the way he can move, and same with Brown on the offensive end. I think both of them move so well without the ball. That's got to be a lot of fun for Kenjo to play with them.
Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at the plus minus tonight, Kenjo led the team at plus 14. Sochan was plus 12. Cryer was plus 10. Flagler was plus 9. Jonathan was only plus 7. He only played 17 minutes, and his box score was 5 rebounds, 3 points, so 2 assists, no turnovers, which was good. We only turned it over 8 times. That was impressive because Arizona State was obviously from the end of the first half on putting a lot more perimeter pressure on us and trying to turn us over. I will say that Jonathan. And Jimmy Dykes mentioned this, but he does a lot of things that don't show up in the box score. Just the picks, the extreme hustle, the activity. I think Thamba is solid, very solid. I don't want to try to disparage Flo at all, but Jonathan just has a lot more oomph to him. A lot more passion, I guess you could say. Sometimes I feel like Thamba's going through the motions a little bit. But Jonathan just plays with such high energy and effort all the time, every time he's on the court. Sometimes it leads to some spastic plays like the end of the shot clock 3-pointer that bricked. But I mean, you love to see that. You love to see the energy. Akinjo's a kind of that type of player too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was getting some texts that someone was comparing Akinjo to Kenny Cherry, and no disrespect to Kenny Cherry, I love Kenny Cherry, great college player, but to me,
he's better than Cherry.
Yeah, I mean, Akinjo's got that competitive gene that Davion has. You know, just always in attack mode. You know, just always in the gym. I'm not saying Cherry wasn't, but he's there's something different about his competitive DNA. And yeah, he's going to have some bad shooting nights. He's going to over dribble and cause some turnovers from time to time. But overall, I mean, he's been super efficient as far as distributing. Assist to turnover ratio has been really good, and that's what Scott Drew wants from him. And he plays great defense too. He plays really good defense.
Yeah, and to be fair to Cherry, Akinjo has a better supporting cast than he did.
Yeah,
but Cherry was obviously very calm out there and a good floor leader. It'll be interesting to see when we're in closer games who kind of takes over, who the coaches trust. But yeah, Akinjo is going to be so quick. If he keeps going shooting that mid-range jumper, he's going to be deadly because they'll have to guard that, his three and his penetration. But yeah, you mentioned John a minute ago, just how smart he is out there. It's always fun to see Drew. The maturation of the bigs, as we know that it flows another one. But one thing it's always fun to watch, it seems like he does it 2 or 3 times a game now, John. If he can't get the rebound, he tips it back out to the guards.
Right.
And that's such a high IQ play. I mean, that's basically an extra possession. So yeah, his screening, like you said, and his attack in the basket. It would be fun because I think you mentioned at the beginning of the season he's going to be a better shooter this year. He really worked on that. So if he can get some of those mid-range shots, that could be a game changer when we're playing better teams. But I don't think we've scratched the surface yet. I don't think we've really seen what this team can do because I don't think we faced a very good team. But everyone we faced has been kind of an average team. So it'll be fun to get I hope we get Connecticut. That'll probably be the best other team that we'll have a chance to face, especially if they're BC's point guard is not playing. But next game, yeah, like you said, it's going to be a tough battle. But as far as just elite competition we're going to face in the Big 12, it's probably going to be UConn.
I was not. I mean, maybe it's VCU is better than I'm giving them credit for. I mean, they play hard. Mm-hmm. I was not impressed with Syracuse. I mean, that is like a shell of former Syracuse teams. First of all, they don't have the length and athleticism that they normally do in that zone. You know, secondly, like Gerard, their point guard, I mean, the effort, I just saw him like just completely take possessions off on defense. I mean, he did not look locked in at all. And their shot selection was bad. This is the worst Syracuse team I can remember. I mean, that's a program that's been really consistent over the years, and they may be better by the end of the year, but I was not impressed with what I saw today.
Yeah, Gerard was a lot better last year, it seemed, and maybe it's their supporting cast.
Right.
Yeah, you're right on that game thread when we were watching earlier. It was like Swiss cheese, that zone. I've never seen it like that either. If you've got some good guards, you'd be able to – I was kind of hoping they would win because it would have been fun to see what we could do against that zone. But
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I was rooting for them too because it's, you know, their analytics are better and certainly, you know, it gives you a different look that might come in handy later in the season. But yeah, I mean, looking back at VCU, I'm gonna pull up there. I don't know if you might be able to get to it quicker than I am, but their wins like this year, their games, I mean, like they've been limited offensively all year long. Let's see, yeah, they beat St. Peter's. They scored 57. They lost to Wagner, scored 44. Beat Vanderbilt 48-37. I bet that was really an exciting game to watch. And then they lose to Chattanooga 56-54. And so then they put their first game over 58 points this year was Syracuse, getting 67 against Syracuse. I mean, so you know, obviously their defense is pretty solid. Those are good, you know, defensive numbers for them, but offensively they've been kind of a mess. And hopefully, you know, Baylor can really jump out to a big lead early and you know, avoid any drama and get to the championship game. But yeah, I mean, I don't think VCU is a team that's gonna, you know. So Ken Palm's got it 71-59 is the prediction, and they're the 100th rated team right now. Arizona State is 68. Let's see,
240th offense against our defense. That could be ugly.
Yeah. Yeah, so that'll be a pretty good matchup. Any other what has impressed you? I mean, obviously Gonzaga. I'm kind of glad I don't have Grayson on here because number one, he would just be talking about Gonzaga Duke and hyping that nonstop. But number two, I'm sure Chet Holmgren is his new pet, All American that's gonna set all kinds of records and be the greatest thing that ever walked on a college campus after that game against UCLA. I personally thought UCLA just wasn't ready for the fight. I mean, it was a very disappointing effort by UCLA. I don't think Gonzaga is that good. I mean, they're good. They're not that good. They're not that good to where they should be beating a top 5 team by 20 points. I mean, that's a disappointing effort by UCLA.
Except Texas, that was probably legit.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I forget who was out for UCLA. I forget his name, but one of their best bigs. And since Gonzaga's loaded on the front court this year, I think that was a bad matchup for them. I'd like to see them play each other. Yeah, yep. I'd like to see them play each other again at full a full roster. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I think that Duke game with Gonzaga on Friday will be a big tell because Duke's got the other potential number 1 lottery pick.
Right.
So it'll be fun to see those two get that. He could Chet could get potentially exposed, but they do have a shot blocker this year in him. But I don't think they're as strong as the perimeter when we faced them. But but I mean these big wins, they're going to get all the publicity again all season when they go back to conference play, and we might be able to fly under the radar again. So
and it's interesting because our non-conference, which looks so strong on paper, kind of like last year. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's kind of falling apart a little bit because I mean Oregon's terrible. I mean, I am shocked because on paper, those 3 guards that they have, Jacob Young, Will Richardson, and Davion Harmon, I mean, on paper, it looked like a really good backcourt, and they got a lot of talent all over the place, but they can't score the basketball to save their life, man. They are getting like embarrassingly bad offensive outputs, so I mean, they're all the way down to 57 Ken Pom and probably much worse than that. And man, I guess right now they got them 46 in offensive efficiency. That doesn't seem right. I mean, they lost 78-49 to Houston tonight, 62-50 to St. Mary's. BYU held them under 50. So that's 3 games that against better competition where they've been held 50 or less, which is not going to get it done, obviously.
Yeah, I was shocked with Oregon too, and Villanova.
Yeah,
I can't imagine it's not. Now, granted, we're somewhat inexperienced, but I don't think that's going to be as tough of a game as some people might have thought. I mean, obviously they're extremely well coached and got great leadership in their guards, but I don't think it's obviously not playing out how we thought preseason with how difficult this is. But at least our SEC game should be decent. We know the Big 12. Iowa State, a solid win. I did not expect that tonight. Them to be 5 or 6-0 already. So it's early in the season. You never know. I think Drew mentioned before the game, everyone's legs. No one has their legs yet, so it's hard to, especially in these preseason tournaments back to back, to really know what anyone has yet. But we've got to be pretty happy with our team so far with the turnover we had. Yeah, I mean,
Kendall Cowton and I talked about this on the last podcast, but through 5 games, I mean, you can't really do much better than to win 5, and to win them all by double digits. And, I mean, obviously this was the first one that was even, somewhat close. I mean, all the other wins were over 25 points, but, this one was one that was never in doubt after that run that we made in the, at the end of the first half. So it wasn't, we kept a double digit lead throughout the second half pretty comfortably. So it wasn't like there was any drama to it. Well, I mean, go ahead, Brian.
Oh, I'm sorry. I would just say that I guess the last thing I'd say is I don't know if I'd tap the brakes on what people are saying as far as being better than last season. I probably don't see that yet. I mean, maybe we're more athletic, obviously.
More talent.
Front court.
We got more talent.
Yeah, but I mean, we're not as good of a 3-point shooting team. Right. Our transition defense is not as good yet. And those things, the transition defense can be fixed, but you've got to be a good 3-point shooting team if you're going to be in the top 5. But we can get there. We have it now that Flagler's back, and we know Cryer's elite, and if Flagler hand can heal, it looked like he might have tweaked it tonight, but stayed in. But I hate when I hear announcers say that, because when you lose 4 elite guys off your team that have played basically 3 straight seasons together, 2.5. It's that's hard to do. But yeah, I mean, I think we are a top 10 team, but I don't think we'll know yet until maybe the finals of the tournament and maybe the Villanova to really see what we've got.
Right. Yeah. Well, one thing that's kind of interesting is Drew has always been criticized maybe by the message board a little bit that we don't play fast enough, that we're a little bit too methodical offensively. We're playing pretty fast. Our average possession length is 12th in the country so far this year. So we're getting out there and using our speed. Dykes mentioned that a lot on the broadcast tonight, how fast we are, and he said, I don't think you can really appreciate it on television until you get up close and see how athletic and fast this team is. But I do think Drew's always been awesome about adjusting his style of play to the talent he has and to the roster he has. But the free throw shooting can get better. We're 304th in the country in free throw shooting, and 3-point shooting hasn't really come along like we think it will. We got some. Kenjo should be a 40% guy. Flagler should be a 40% guy. Cryer should be a 40% guy. So if those are the ones that are taking the most 3-point shots, then you should have a good 3-point shooting team. Free throw defense we mentioned is suspect, but hopefully that'll improve as the season goes along. But yeah, you got a lot of positives that you can point to, and none other than 5-0 against the opponents we played, and hopefully a win against VCU tomorrow, and then we can advance to the championship game, and either it's going to be Connecticut or Michigan State. A really good opponent, quality opponent in the championship game if we can get there.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thanks for having me on. It's this week's always fun with basketball fans.
Oh, so. I know. Yeah, it's a little bit of overdose, but it is fun. Well, hey, Brian, thank you. Rifle Bear on the board. Always appreciate your insights. They're great, and I know you're a junkie for basketball like I am. And you've been listening to a Sikkim 365 podcast with Ashley Hodge and Brian Gerard, Sikkim Bears.